to another episode of the NBA Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. Be sure to follow OTG on Twitter at OTGBasketball. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With us tonight, special guest, OTG writer, Nick Vigliotti. How you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing pretty well, Nick. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm getting excited. I love OKC. This might be my second favorite team after the Nets. But let me introduce our other co-host, Harris Wichard. What's good, Harris?
What's up, Nick? Both Nicks tonight as we look at the 8th team in our power rankings according to our writers at OTG. Want to thank everybody also for joining us tonight and the continuous support. The 8th ranked team tonight, a very interesting one, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, OKC, this is a lot to talk about this episode, but we'll start off. Nick, what do you think about this number 8 ranking for your OKC Thunder?
I think the 8th ranking is about where they should be because, I mean, obviously the loss of Durant. You don't just lose Kevin Durant and expect to not take a drop off. Like last year, they'd probably be top 4 teams. But, Westbrook, you still got Westbrook, Adams, Cantor, Oladipo. I think 8 is about where they should be.
Yeah, I think 8's pretty fair. You're lucky enough if you're an OKC fan, you did lose KD, but you still have probably a top 5 player on your team. Not many teams can say that. So I think they'll be still in a good place. They have some nice young pieces, going forward. But I agree with the 8 ranking. What about you, Harris?
This is one of those where I think they could go higher. I don't know. Sometimes less is more. Durant and Westbrook never seemed they were on the same page at times, reached the finals with Harden. But this is one of those years you're going to see Westbrook possess this year. And he's on a mission to prove that he's an MVP candidate, in which I think he is. I've gained a lot of respect for how he's dealt with this situation. And he's kind of like, me and Durant weren't really, whatever, he left. And he's had a great attitude about it. And he answered a question today that I was even more impressed with. He said, Mark Cuban told you don't think you're a superstar. And he goes, and they asked him, do you think you're a superstar? And he goes, I consider myself a basketball player. This guy's locked in. You're going to see crazy numbers from him. And he's got enough guys around him to be the 3rd best team in the West if they really wanted to. I like the 8 ranking, and I think it could go higher. I'm high on this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the 8 ranking is very good. I'm excited. I want to hear your guys' predictions for Westbrook's numbers this year.
I think Westbrook, we've seen him without Durant before, just put up monster numbers like that stretch where he had the injury. Now you have a whole season. I think it's not out of the question that Westbrook puts up over 30 points, like around 31, 32, with about 11 assists and about 8 rebounds. The dude's just an athletic monster, pound for pound, probably the most athletic player in the NBA. Mm. And now he's just going to be angry, like Harris pointed out. He always plays angry, but now with Durant kind of just, he essentially chose Curry over him. Mm. I think Westbrook's going to come out with a huge chip on his shoulder and just play angry all season.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be possessed. I mean, those numbers aren't unthinkable when you consider how he played in the past without Durant. What about you, Harris?
Yeah, this is not a chip on Westbrook's shoulder. This is Mount Everest. He's going to be – I agree. I can't say 32 is out of the question. They're going to need it. But I would say I would go on the safer side and say 30, 10, and 8. And he's going to flirt with a triple-double. He had 18 last year, if I'm not mistaken. He might push higher than 20 this year. So yeah, we might see we're going to see records fall. We're going to see Westbrook be, to me, the MVP of the league, which I think he will be because of his roster and the way that things are set up. Westbrook will be the most valuable player in the NBA this season.
Over and under 25 triple-doubles.
I'm going to say under. That's just such a steep number. But I agree with over 20. I can see about 22, 23. But 25 is not out of the question.
Yeah, I'm not going to put anything past this guy this year. I don't want to – listen, I don't want to be in his way. I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys in his way. I mean, if I was playing against a dude, sometimes I might just have to lay him and let him do what he does. But, I mean, you talk about Westbrook. It's phenomenal to watch. He had that dunk in that preseason game that made you think if he was human or not. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to agree. I'm going to say about 22 or 23 also. I think he's over 20 but under 25.
All right, very close, very close. It'll be interesting, and we'll keep an eye on that all season long. But moving on, let's talk about off-season moves. We'll start with the draft day trade. They trade away Serge Ibaka. They got Victor Oladipo. They got the 11th pick in the draft, I think. So, what do you think about the trade? how do you think it impacts the Thunder and how it impacted Kevin Durant choosing the Warriors,
Well,
if it did?
it was weird because Durant first he was just like, oh, it's a good basketball move, and it kind of made me think that he was just leaning back towards Oklahoma City. I mean, I think a lot of people thought that, but I think the loss of Ibaka is going to hurt more than people think. Well, he wasn't, like everyone always wanted him to become this post-up guy, and he never really developed that. But he was a great catch and shoot guy, and his length was huge in the series with the Warriors. Like he was able to play the small five against Draymond, which I don't think anyone has a good matchup, as good of a matchup as that. Serge Ibaka, 6'10", 240, can jump out of the gym, extremely athletic, and he always had the nice range from mid-range and deep. I think his loss is going to hurt, but the addition of Oladipo, I think now with Westbrook, you have one of the most athletic backcourts of all time. I think those two can wreak havoc on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you already know about Westbrook on offense, and now Oladipo and Westbrook could play like this really aggressive defense. I think together with their athletic ability, I think they can make some noise on defensive end. And Sabonis with the 11th pick, I think he fits in really well with Adams and Cantor down low. He's going to be a huge rebounder guy, big, strong, and tough and physical down low. I think that the Thunder will be all right, but I think the loss of Ibaka is going to sting a little more than people realize.
Yeah, and I mean, he was one of the best rim protectors in the NBA.
Yeah.
You were scared to drive on him. He's so athletic. So, yeah, I agree with that. They'll definitely miss him. I think Victor Oladipo will do better in OKC than Orlando. That whole Victor Oladipo situation in Orlando was kind of weird. Like, his rookie season was really good, and then it kind of went downhill, and they didn't always play him a ton of minutes. Mm-hmm. So I think in OKC, you'll have a better opportunity.
Younger.
What'd you think about the trade, Harris?
Younger and faster. He made the point. Nick made the point about, I remember Mark Jackson said this is the best shooting backcourt of all time, and everyone laughed at him. This might be the more athletic backcourts we've ever seen. And Oladipo and Westbrook trying to guard Curry and Thompson, there are going to be nights where that backcourt could get the better of the Curry-Thompson backcourt, which is what the model of the NBA is right now, Curry and Thompson. So, honestly, like, this is a team to me that with Oladipo now, and you touched on Sabonis, I wanted to mention that, Arvydas Sabonis' son, right? Am I not mistaken? Yep. Went to Gonzaga. Yep. We know he knows the game. IQ is a very important, underrated part of basketball today. And I was watching, we talked about the coaches thing we watched up on an open court or whatever. And Doc Rivers started talking about the change when LeBron's career changed was when he started calling out our plays in like the midpoint of his career. IQ is important. Sabonis knows the game. Westbrook's starting to learn the game. Billy Donovan is a very underrated head coach in this league right now. This is a team that got younger, faster, more athletic. So I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. Ibaka's loss is going to be huge. But I think Cantor and Adams can fill that void well. And those guys are role guys. Oladipo is going to fill in and score 15 a night with Westbrook's 30. And you're getting 45 out of your backcourt.
Yeah.
Very true. And like you mentioned, they could pass, Curry and Thompson. And that's very important if you want to do anything in the West. But let's talk about the real big move this offseason. Kevin Durant leaving OKC and going to Golden State. Give us your feelings on this, Nick.
Well, I mean, I think it was quite the blind side. I mean, I wrote the article about it, and like the Thunder, I think were the only. I mean, they were. I think they were the only team where Golden State had to look at them and be like, two of the best three players are not on our team. When you had Durant and Westbrook together, and I think the Thunder, talent-wise, were probably better than the Warriors last season. I don't know if they have it this year, which they lost Ibaka too, but I mean that's a huge loss. The Thunder still are, I think, a championship caliber team, but I mean they're just that one piece away from really being there. Because I mean they really don't have a reliable option for their three now with Durant gone. It's going to hurt a lot. I mean Durant. I think with LeBron's like continuing to age, I think Durant is arguably the best player with LeBron. And I mean, it was a huge shock for me as a fan of the Thunder and a fan of the NBA, a Durant fan, my favorite player. Didn't really see that coming at all. But I mean, apparently that's what he really wanted. The way his comments have been after he left, I've been really shocked by the comments. Is like, oh, they play basketball differently. And then the comment today where he was like, that came out today at First Take was talking about it, that watching them collapse in the finals made it easier for him to say, oh, I can just go here. And he was like begging his agent to go play there and stuff. So it was just really surprising. I think it's obviously a huge loss, but you just like kind of poked the dragon of Westbrook, because Westbrook's gonna come out now and he's gonna be angry this year about that whole scenario.
Well,
yeah, Kevin Durant was probably one of my favorite players before that. You know, I definitely I don't want to say I lost a lot of respect for him, but I just like don't look at him the same way.
Right.
Well,
you know, I expected him to stay, and I thought it was kind of like I would have been okay with him leaving OKC, but he shouldn't have went to the Warriors. You know, he should have went to the Boston or like the Spurs or like a team that wasn't gonna be like crazy stacked. He already won 70 games. Like I felt like, I don't want to say it, but the easy way out. You know, like he's gonna get an easier championship there than anywhere else.
Well, this is to me the perfect storm, and just give me a minute on this because I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and it's to me not very different than LeBron teaming up with Wade, who was a top 5 guy, and it's Wade's team in Miami, and Bosh, who was a top 10 guy. This was the perfect storm to make Kevin Durant look really bad. And the reason why that happened was because they blew a 3-1 lead. They were a game away from the finals. And on top of that fact, in the NBA finals, the team that had won 73 games blew a 3-1 lead. I believe if the Thunder went to the finals and lost, it would have been easier for him to go to Golden State because they had just beaten them. Or if the Warriors won the title, I don't think he would have went, because who wants to go to a team that just won 2 titles and doesn't want to screw that up? So it was the perfect storm of events for Durant to say, now I can leave Russell Westbrook, because I never thought that was right. I always thought something was wrong there between those two. They meshed, they played hard together, they played well together. But the fact that they blew the lead to them, now this would have been easy for people to accept, in my opinion, if they beat the Warriors and then lost the Cavs and said, man, we can't beat this guy LeBron, let me go join the Warriors and try to beat him. Because LeBron was struggling in Cleveland with some bad players. Now, listen, and LeBron did not have Russell Westbrook in Cleveland. And that's why you can make the argument that LeBron, you know, is obviously the most valuable guy in the league. But LeBron had nobody taking those teams to Cleveland in those finals. Kevin Durant had Russell Westbrook. So it's yes. Am I a little critical of the decision? Yes. But to me, it's not very different than what LeBron did in Miami, in my opinion. I just don't see it to be that different.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see how it's very similar, but I also don't think that Kevin Durant's going to leave Golden State and go back to OKC. I don't know, and win a championship.
Well, I don't think he's going to be a Warrior for life, though.
But I don't think he'll go back to OKC. Like, you kind of feel better about LeBron because he went back to Cleveland.
Yeah,
like his image changed. Like, at least personally for me, when he went back to Cleveland, I was like, all right, I got to give him a little respect, like trying to go back to his hometown.
You don't think Durant would go back to Oklahoma City?
I don't know. If Westbrook's there, I feel like Westbrook wouldn't want him to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you'd be pretty upset, a little salty.
Exactly. Like, I feel like that situation is pretty toxic right now. Like, Westbrook hasn't said much, but I'm sure he's very pissed off. Like, it was kind of like disrespectful. I heard that he didn't even like meet with him in person. He just sent him a text.
Yeah, that's like breaking up with your girlfriend through text.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. They say, at least I think LeBron sat down and had dinner with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and was like, yeah, I'm leaving Miami. Like in Durant and Westbrook, they looked like they had a close relationship, so you think it would, but
I'm telling you, there was something wrong there.
You might be right though.
Yeah, I think actually what made it so like it couldn't work was when Durant got injured and Westbrook had to elevate his game to like an alpha dog status. Like I think that kind of Westbrook always played hard, but when he had to step his game up without Durant, I think maybe that like when Durant returned, I think maybe there was just like too much. You know, it's kind of like the Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose situation. I think that Durant's injury actually kind of forced this whole thing because Westbrook had to elevate his game. Westbrook thinks that he might not say it. He just considers himself a basketball player, but
right.
I think when he elevated his play to this like a triple double machine and just an all NBA type player, I think he probably it's just create two alpha dogs doesn't work. That's why I tell you.
Well, and listen, if you guys have read the book of basketball, Bill Simmons, if you looked at it at all, he talks about the secret of basketball. And the secret of basketball is everybody has to fall into a role. You're always going to have the best player on a team. Like Curry's the best player on the Warriors, in my opinion. Some people think Draymond Green. I think it's Steph Curry. And if you look at the Spurs, like They always had those three guys, but Duncan was the best player on the team. And you have to fall into your roles, understand how to be unselfish. And if you have two guys fighting to see who's going to be the alpha dog and who's more of the man here, it's not going to work. Look at Miami. They had to fall into place. LeBron took what was, the main role. And then Cleveland, LeBron's the main guy. And in Golden State, any championship team you look at, maybe outside of the Pistons, who are that rare example, who had four guys. I mean, most of the time you have a guy that just falls in and is the man. It's just the way it happens.
Yeah, that's very true. I thought Nick brought up a good point. When Kevin Durant got injured, we got to see how good Russell Westbrook really was.
Mm-hmm.
And, that kind of threw things off. But talking about Westbrook, how big was it that they were able to extend him this summer?
I think that was huge. Because could you just imagine being in Oklahoma City, and you at one point have Durant, Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, and even Jeff Green. I think it was a decent player, and you end up losing all of them, and all you got in return was Kendrick Perkins in that trade, and the draft pick was Steven Adams, and now you have Oladipo. Like, if Westbrook wasn't re-signed and left, I think that would just be huge. Then you go from even with the roster you have now, you have a good eighth best team, possibly better, and you're looking at 25, 26. That would just be completely detrimental to everything the Thunder have built from being pretty much a perennial NBA title contender ever since their third year or second year in Oklahoma City. You saw them take all those steps forward. It was first rounds and conference finals, and then they got over the Spurs hump. They didn't win against the Heat, but it was kind of just watching them build up, and then it's just all torn down if Westbrook leaves. Then that would have been complete huge devastating loss if he left.
Yeah, I disliked Westbrook's style at times, but you just can't. You got to appreciate the hustle, the heart that he plays with, the chip on his shoulder, and everything that he's brought to the table. Do I like to see him be a little bit more patient and work on his three ball a little bit and kind of calm down at times? Yes, but you cannot take away from him his passion, his energy, and enthusiasm for the game, which is second to none, and it makes him a must-watch on almost every night.
Out of the departures, they obviously lost Kevin Durant. That's the biggest thing. But they lost Randy Foye, Dion Waiters. Out of those two guys, who do you think is going to hurt the most?
I think definitely Dion Waiters. Dion Waiters gets a bad rep around the league, and I could see it. He really does want the ball at times. And there's two separate videos of him really calling for the ball. And even in an ironic game winner against the Magic, where Ibaka blocks Oladipo's shot, and then Durant comes down and scores, you see Waiters running down the line, waiting for calling for the ball, and doesn't get it. But Durant makes a shot and they win. But Waiters, he played really well for them in the playoffs. Especially against Golden State, his defense was extremely underrated. He's a big dude, 6'4", about 220. He was bodying Steph Curry, bullying him around the court. And I think that he could have really developed into a good two-way player. Now they have Oladipo now. So Oladipo, Waiters, plus Roberson, that wouldn't work. That's too many bodies for there's not enough room for all three of them. So I think Waiters was definitely be missed more, because Randy Foye came in with his 3-point reputation, and it just didn't work in Oklahoma City. He just didn't have it from deep. So I think Waiters will definitely be missed more.
Nice moments in the playoffs. And like you said, Foye, they traded for him to get that shooter, and he just didn't hit his shots. So
right.
I even still feel like OKC could use another shooter, especially with Westbrook, just having someone to dish the ball out, get an easy three.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I just think Ibaka is going to be missed defensively. But outside of that, I think their roster set up kind of nicely to have a solid year and fight for that 2, 3, 4. I think everyone would like to think that the Warriors will be the number 1 seed. But after that, when you lose Duncan and you have some change in San Antonio, you never know. But outside of that, I think the West is kind of open up front, and some teams could kind of sneak in there. And I think the Thunder are one of those teams that could steal one of those top 4 spots.
Yeah, definitely. So it leads me to my next question. Are the Thunder going to be better or worse this season?
I think they're gonna be worse. You don't lose Kevin Durant and get better. I mean, I definitely think they're a playoff team, right around that 5 or 6 seed. But they're definitely. I think they'd have to be worse with no Kevin Durant on the roster.
Yeah, it's very true. They could end up maybe with a high seed this season, but it won't be the same. They won't be a threat in the playoffs like they were with Kevin Durant and Westbrook. Any given night they can be any team, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they're going to be around the same. I think this is – and listen, I love Durant, but this could be an addition by subtraction, letting Westbrook step up a little bit. I think they're going to win in the 50s. I do. I think this is going to be a 52, 53, 54 win team. They could probably win 55 like they did last year. Donovan in his second season, a workhorse. So I think this team could win in the 50s and be around the same. They lost in the conference finals last year. We know it's the Warriors 1 game away from the NBA Finals. So this is one of those situations where I think they could be just as good as they were last year. Now, if they were worse, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they'll be better, but they're going to be in the mix in the Western Conference playoff picture.
Yeah. I think they're just one shooter. Like if they had there were rumors about a Rudy Gay maybe trade. There's just that one small forward, I think. It's just a solid, competent small forward away from being right back, I think, with the Warriors.
Right. And listen, Harrison Barnes went to Dallas, and people think that the Warriors with Durant are just going to click right away. Now, they're going to be a really good team, but like you said, you get a solid 3 in there with Oladipo, Westbrook, Adams, Cantor, and you throw a solid 3 into that mix, and Morrow comes off the bench and shoots his threes. And is anybody more painful to watch run than Anthony Morrow? I mean, the guy, he's really hard to watch him run, but he comes in, he's just like a cheerleader on the bench and comes in and knocks down a couple of threes. But if they have someone to stretch the floor and that's a 3, like you mentioned, that's going to be dangerous.
So, final prediction for the Thunder this season?
I would say right around the 50, 52, and 29, around there. I think they are a competitive team, right around that 4, 5, 6 seed in the playoffs. And I think they can be a conference semifinal, maybe a conference final team. I mean, who wouldn't love to see a Durant versus Thunder in a conference final?
You're the first person that's come on to support their team and not think they were going to go 82-0. That's a shout out to our writers that are optimistic. I don't mind that. But no, I'm right there with you. I think this is a 50 to 55. I think they'll be right around where they were last year, fight for that 3 or 4 seed. I tend to think they're going to get home court in the playoffs in the first round. Westbrook's going to be that explosive, that good, best year of his career. And, yeah, I think this team is special, and they still have some special talent. So I don't see them being in the 40s, so I would have to think north of 50.
Yeah, I think a few wins over 50. Westbrook possibly might have one of the greatest NBA seasons ever. So, I think a home court's definitely a possibility. And like you said, conference finals is even possible. Westbrook gets hot. There's, you can't really stop him. And that would be great to see Durant versus Westbrook in the finals. And conference finals, and it would be some real tension.
Oh, yeah, that would be really, really fun to watch. Really fun to watch.
All right, next question. Are you going to watch the Thunder on League Pass?
Of course. I mean, I have to. I will definitely watch the Thunder. They still, without Durant, I think, you definitely have Westbrook, who I think will be, like Harris said, I think he's the MVP of the season this year. Putting up triple-doubles on a nightly basis. And I think him and Oladipo are going to be really fun to watch on defense together. I see a lot of aggressive. I see almost maybe even 1.8, 1.9 steals per game for each of them. Yeah. Just wreaking havoc on opposing backcourts. I think there'll be a fun team to watch. And I'm a huge fan of Steven Adams down low. I think they'll be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite teams in the NBA. I'll be catching as many games as I can of the Thunder, especially with Westbrook this season.
Yeah, obviously the NBA loves this team. They're on ESPN and ABC, and they got 30 games on national TV, maybe even more than that. The game I can't wait to see is at Golden State on November 3rd. Is that here yet? Is it November 3rd yet?
Yeah, right.
So that's going to be fun and phenomenal. That's a TNT game. And, I love that Thursday crew also with Shaq, Kenny Smith, and Charles Barkley and them making fun of each other the whole time. So that's always great. So, Yeah, this is going to be a team you have to tune into. They'll probably beat the Sixers on opening night by 100. And they have two. This team's going to start 3-0. I mean, they have the Sixers, Suns, and Lakers, and then 2 of those games are at home. So they're gonna get off to a nice 3-0 start, in my opinion. And you know how important I think that is. And then they get some good tests at Clippers, at Golden State, and then a 5-game homestand. So you could see the you could see the Thunder get off to a fast start, and then that game that everybody wants to see. Those matchups against the Warriors are as must watch as maybe anything since LeBron going back to Cleveland his first year there.
Yep.
That's must watch. That's must watch. If you're a fan of basketball, it's must watch.
Yep.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right. On to the truth. The emoji today, what is it, Nick?
The flame emoji, because Westbrook is coming. Instead of winter is coming, Game of Thrones, we're going Westbrook is coming. The fire emoji for the Thunder.
Yeah, that's fitting. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, he's on his revenge tour this season. Like, he is not happy about Kevin Durant leaving, but he's going to get a chance to shine. And like you guys mentioned, he's definitely in the MVP contention, top 2 for me.
Now, if you had to rank just on passion alone, and you know how important passion is, and I think it drives the basketball forward. Look at the top 5 guys for the last 20 years. Westbrook's name's in that category. And Jordan and Kobe, and even Jordan drew the comparison to his passion of Westbrook. So you just love watching this guy compete on a nightly basis. He just cares about winning so much that it makes you interested to see what he has in store next. And like I said, I feel bad for Philly fans because that opening night's going to be brutal. And Westbrook's going to come out and just set the league on fire. It's a perfect fitting emoji.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jordan loves Westbrook. I think Jordan's presenting Westbrook into like the OKC Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's very cool. I got another question for you guys. Westbrook at the end of the season, is he going to be considered one of the top 2 players in the NBA and possibly number 1?
I think he'll be in consideration, but I mean the main guys, they love LeBron and they love Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. So I think he'll always be like just mentioned, but I don't think he'll ever be in the top 2 or 1. And I just think everyone is just so in love with what Steph Curry did last year, and everyone's in love with LeBron. I mean, rightfully so. LeBron, yeah. I mean, I think Curry's personally a little overrated, but I don't think Westbrook will be in that conversation just because everyone is so in love with LeBron and Steph Curry.
Well, I could spend an hour defending Curry, but here's how Westbrook is, to me, could become the second best player in basketball. I think LeBron will have the number 1 spot this season no matter what. And if you want to pass Curry, and Curry almost to me passed LeBron, but he didn't in the way he played in the finals. But if you want to pass Curry, just beat him up in the individual matchups and you'll be fine. I mean, he did outplay him a little bit in the conference finals, but then allowed them to win 3 games. So if you want to, because Westbrook has the ability to he's a better athlete, he's stronger, he's faster, but he's not as skilled. So he could become the second best player in basketball if he wins his matchups with Curry. And they're going to have opportunities to play against each other, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I'm high on Westbrook because of how he's handled this. He's definitely a top 4 guy. I think the 4 best players in basketball are LeBron, Curry, Durant, and Westbrook. I don't know if we could really argue that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Just maybe the order, but
yeah. I don't know the order. I mean, I guess with LeBron would be 1, but those to me are the 4 best guys right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
But that wraps it up for OKC. It's going to be a great season. Westbrook is coming. Thanks for joining us, Nick, and great show, Harris. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yep.
Yeah, great show again, guys. OTG Basketball on Twitter, and appreciate all the support.